to order the Ottawa City Commission regular meeting here on the 75th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. It is December 7th, 2016, and it is 7 o'clock. Could we please have the roll call?
All right. Mayor Kaler?
Present.
Commissioner Reed?
Present.
Commissioner Graves?
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Present.
I'd like to welcome everyone who is in the audience today or who may be listening on some kind of other technology or listening back to us later on during the week. We appreciate you being part of the democratic process, and we welcome you to be a part of our meeting at any time. We meet on the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. and on the third Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. So we welcome you to be here at any time. We are going to begin our meeting as we do every single week with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathleen Whitmore, the pastor at the Ottawa First United Methodist Church, and I am honored to be here with all of you tonight, so let us go to the Lord in prayer. O holy and blessed God, as we gather this night, we know that it is cold and that there are people who are struggling to survive. We know that on this night there are decisions to be made, decisions that will affect the lives of many people. And so we pray that we don't only ask for your blessings upon the decisions that we make, but that the decisions we make are blessed by you. Come now, fill this place with your Spirit, grant us your peace, your wisdom, in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Whitmore. We appreciate your words this evening. Now we move on to the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from November 14th, November 21st, November 28th study sessions, and the November 16 regular meeting. It also includes the application for the cereal malt beverage licenses for 2017, and it includes the approval of a new member to our Board and Commissions, Construction Board of Appeals, and the resignation from Board and Commissions, Planning Commission, and Accessory Advisory Board, Accessibility Advisory Board. Do you want to address? Our city manager will be addressing a couple things that were added to our consent agenda this evening.
Commissioners, normally this would have been on your study session, but this came in the other day. As I believe most people know, Mr. Oglesby has been recommended for appointment to the Franklin County Commission to fill a vacant chair there. So I received an email with a letter attached. I think I sent it out to you. Wendy did also, where Rick was submitting his resignation from the Planning Commission, and he has also served in his chair of our Accessibility Advisory Committee also. So that's why those are on there, so you can accept those, so we can start the procedure to find replacements on those committees. And Rick has been how long on the Planning Commission?
I'm not sure.
Pardon?
I'm not sure.
Right. So he's been on there a while. He's been on our advisory board, I believe, since the inception. So he's been a great help, been a good participant, been to the meetings. So we appreciate his service.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Skidmore seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next, that moves us on to public comment. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding issues on the agenda may do so as that agenda item is called. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items not on the agenda but are under the jurisdiction of the City Commission may do so at the time when called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or with other outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and any presentation is for information purposes. No action will be taken. We do have an individual who would like to give us public comment tonight. Mr. Fogel, would you like to come forward and give us your address and tell us what you want to share with us tonight?
Well, I'd like to share with you what got me here tonight.
Tell us who you are.
What?
Tell us who you are, just so that we make sure we get it on.
Oh, Ted Fogel. I live at 1521 South Maple Street. I'm a resident of Ottawa, and I have been for like 80 years. I haven't always lived here. I've lived a few other places, but I've been around here for a long time. But the reason for my visit today, I talked to the engineers that are working on the Rock Creek development yesterday, and they say they're proceeding along and trying to get with the state, to get everything improved so they can do the intersection at Kingman Road and Highway 59. And I'm in disagreement with some of this stuff that's going on here, because what you're proposing to do is take out all of my entrances into my 80 acres and leave me one down about 1/4 mile. And what that does in a small town like Ottawa, it just totally destroys the frontage of that, because people won't drive down there and drive back. They'll drive right on by. You look at up there where the filling stations are, you got a vacant filling station, it's been vacant for years. They won't even drive down there that far. Or the other one's not doing well if you go the other direction. And if you do that to this property, I don't see any way that can be used unless it's something that other than like what we had planned on using it for. It would have to be used for something else. The zoning would have to be changed or something else. But the reason why we bought this property to start with was because Windy Pines, we bought it for my wife. She owned Windy Pines. She was kicked out over across the street by the state. And at the time, the state sent 2 people down from real estate, head officials, and told me and my lawyer that TK Enterprises and Windy Pines, everybody would have to leave because they were not going to pay the city of Ottawa the $550,000 to hook the sewer line up, which they had agreed to do so that we could stay there. Now, I have all the paperwork on this, so if anybody wants to see it and don't believe what I'm saying, you get a hold of me and I'll show it to you. I saved all this. But anyway, that's what led to that. That's why we bought that property over there. I couldn't find a place to move TK Enterprises. We tried. We bought and we tried every place, but I had to have industrial property and a special use permit. Darn hard to find. And the place where we found that there was right next to Buildex, so I didn't have a lot of problems being able to move there, because before that we were located down at 18th and Princeton Road. So when we moved to 25th and Princeton Road, then we had a lot of people not liking that. And I don't know the reason why the city didn't like it, because the city came to the meeting over the entrance. And really, it was a bad deal. I mean, my wife had to sit there and listen to that. I mean, the city was very much against that entrance into that property. And it continued on. But anyway, making a long story short, here we are now. And we moved. We saved Windy Pines. And then a disaster happens. One thing after another. She couldn't stay there. She couldn't work in that environment. The doctor told her she couldn't work there. All those trucks were coming up and burning a U-turn in our parking lot right next to the building. It's a metal building, and all that dust and everything filtered into the building, and it got where she couldn't work there. So we were going to sell it to somebody, and that Bokillo. That got stopped abruptly. Got to figure out what's going on, you know what I mean? Why is there so much problems with it? We couldn't build that building downtown. I mean, people told me I built it in the wrong place. We had to be able to get trucks of our own in there to dump the rock and the bunkers and stuff. You can't build a building like that downtown here. Then Bones went and built over on the north side, you know, after we quit, you know. That's where those types of businesses need to be.
Mr. Fogel, I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds to
Okay.
wrap up your thought, if you
What
could.
I'm asking you for is, it's gonna cost me way too much money to build these roads or streets or whatever it is, back to the businesses we have. And the businesses that we have, we're just getting like basically taxes and insurance money off those. Ottawa, you can't get any more than that. It's a type of deal where you can't even get the interest off your money off of it, because you do, they'll just leave. I mean, you know, I can't afford it, that's what I'm saying. I cannot afford it. The state said they're not gonna pay for it, and you said you're not gonna pay for it. Well, who's gonna pay for it? Somebody has to step up and pay for it if that's what you're gonna do. So I'm asking you to think this through and maybe change your mind a little bit about what you're thinking about doing. Some of the land that I have will be landlocked. I mean, I won't even have a way to get to it.
We hear your thoughts. Know that this is still a process that's in the middle of it.
Okay.
We're in the middle of that process. Nothing's
Well,
been
I would-
inked completely.
I would like for somebody other than Bartlett and West to get a hold of me and keep me informed, so you don't just pass something. And I'm sorry if I named I didn't mean to.
No.
So that you don't pass something like they did to me on the other side of the road, you know what I mean? They landlocked me over there and I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't even sell the thing for several years till I got this thing straightened out. Don't do it to me again.
We appreciate your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Is there anybody else for public comment this evening? Seeing none, we will move forward. Next is declaration. At this time, I'd like to give our commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication that they might have had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Seeing none, we will move forward. On to new business.
Presentation of donation from Cosentino's Price Chopper to the Mayor's Christmas Tree Fund.
The $3,000 check from Constantino's will be allocated half to Hope House and half to ECAN. And tonight we have representatives from both Hope House and ECAN, who both just do wonderful work here in our community on behalf of individuals who really, really need our service and our love at this time of the year and all year long. We will be dividing that $3,000 check between Hope House and ECAN. So first I'd ask Hope House to come forward, and that would be Mary Louise Yates, who would be accepting that. And then I wonder if we don't want to get a picture, do it a picture with everyone, or we want a picture?
However you want to do it.
Commissioners, would you all like to be in a picture? Because I wonder if we all want to maybe step down here and be in a picture, because this really is something that benefits our whole community beyond just the mayor.
Do you need a motion on this first, or you want to?
Sure, I'll take a motion.
I would move that we approve it as suggested in item number 13.
Okay, there's been a motion to give you the money. So, hey, that's kind of exciting. I'm glad you're here. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to distribute the allocation from Constantino's to Hope House and to ECAN. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Let's take some pictures. So we'll come down here and we'll all take a picture together and give you this check, and then we do want to hear from you, but we certainly want to get a picture with you.
Can you fit behind the screen?
Sure, if you want us to.
Yeah.
over by, yeah.
There we go. Good job, dear. Okay, I'm gonna take two, first one.
Here from you. Okay, if you'd like, do you want to give things out to? We want to stay here. Yeah, and stay here for just a second. We're gonna hear, and I'm gonna grab this other check. Do a little information.
So I face this way?
Yeah, go ahead. You can face however you want.
Well, just on behalf of Hope House and all the people that come to us and or have special needs, I want to just say thank you. We are so blessed in this community. We have been around for about 26 years, and we have had the support, and we really, really, really appreciate it. We are seeing increasing people coming in. A lot of people are not able to live on their own, and so they're grouping up in a home. The family is, and we're seeing a lot of grandparents raising their grandchildren. And so when someone comes in and gets food, a lot of food is going out of Hope House. And we have worked with, we buy locally, and so the manager out there is very, very good to work with. So that makes our job a lot easier. Last year, just some real quick report from our United Way grant. We served 11,094 people from the food pantry, and that's our main focus. But we also assist with utilities, and last year we served 88 people, and that was almost $14,000. And then for rent assistance, we helped 26 people, and that was about almost $4,000. So, and we've seen an increase. So, we wish we didn't have to have our doors open, but we do. So, we hope to try to continue to help the people that need the help. So, we thank you guys, and we thank the community, because without the community and the sports support and our wonderful volunteers, we wouldn't be there. So, we're very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Lois. Next, we will call up Richard Jackson with ECAN, and we will present him a check for $1,500 from Constantinos, too.
We'll send you a picture. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna take two. One, two, three. One, two,
Okay.
Turnaround also. First of all, I thank the City Commission for their support over the years, the different ways that they've helped the ECAN. We just celebrated our 50th a few weeks ago, and most of the city staff were in attendance, so we appreciate that. Give you just a few figures. This is a busy time of the year, busier than normal. We get into our annual Christmas Bureau, which we're doing now, and we'll be having our give out next Wednesday at the National Guard Armory. We work very closely with Price Chopper, Canatino, Walmarts, and others in the community. We get a lot of donated food from them. And today we had our Harvesters giveaway and probably had over 150, 160 people. Every Tuesday with food that we get from the Walmart Super Center and Price Chopper, we serve well over 150 every Tuesday. So that's a lot of food that's given to a lot of people in this community. And so I think when you listen to the figures that Mary Lois mentioned and some of those that I mentioned, there's a lot of need in this community. And I think sometimes people doubt the need, but those that work with those in need can certainly attest to that. But Ottawa is a giving community, And we could not do the things that we do if it wasn't for the people in this community that step forward each and every day, and not only just at this time of the year. With our Christmas Bureau, so far we've taken 156 applications. That's 156 families. Out of that, there's 287 kids. That's a lot of kids. The hardest ones to buy for are teenagers. We got 66 girls and 75 boys. And I can remember a few years ago we had 12 teenagers. So dealing with 12, and now you're dealing with 287. About 43 families have been adopted out, about 67 kids. And so with some of this money, we'll be buying food vouchers. So Price Chopper is going to get their money back. We'll buy $25 food vouchers for about 130. 43 of those are elderly. Tomorrow also we'll be shopping with Franklin County Bikers to add to the toys that we've got. So again, thank you. And thank the commission.
Absolutely. I believe I speak on behalf of the county or the city commission when I say we truly appreciate the work that both ECAN and Hope House provide for some of our needy citizens. And we know without your services that Christmas wouldn't be quite as bright. So we appreciate our partnership together. And certainly I know we all thank Constantinos for this wonderful donation. That moves us on to number 14 on the agenda.
Public hearing for 2016 budget amendments.
The public hearing has been called to consider amending the 2016 budget for the library, special alcohol, and economic development funds. I believe that Scott Bird will be addressing this, and we will open the hearing right now, and then we'll get an explanation from Mr. Bird.
Good evening. We are about to wrap up another fiscal year, which means we're about to wrap up a budget year. State statute provides the opportunity for us to take a look at our books and see if we have any of our funds that might be in jeopardy of being broken. And that happens for a variety of reasons. We have 3 funds that we are asking for amendments to this evening. Those are the Library Fund, the Special Alcohol Fund, and the Economic Development Fund. In the case of the library, we actually had more money at the end of the year than we had budgeted to transfer. Usually we transfer everything over because they are, from us, they are dependent on tax dollars. And of course we know that tax dollars don't always come in 100% as budgeted. Last year was an exception, and we had about $7,000 more than we had budgeted, so we carried that $7,000 over and held it for them until January so we could get into the new budget year, which means this budget year. This year has been a good year as well for the library. We had another almost $7,000, a little over $7,000, and in fact, the total between the two amounts is $14,868 surplus for the library, and if we do this budget amendment, we can go ahead and transfer those dollars to the library at the end, before the end of this year, which is what I am proposing. The Special Alcohol Fund is monies that comes from special alcohol tax. Those funds are used for the DARE program throughout the community. Haven't needed to move those funds into the general fund the last 2 years, and so we have about $77,000, a little over $77,000. That I would like to transfer to the general fund before the end of the year. That includes about $25,000 of this year's special alcohol money. So that's a total of $77,246, which is $51,686 more than what was budgeted this year. We need to move those monies into the general fund. The last one is the Economic Development Fund, and the good thing here, which may not sound like it, the good thing is we're spending more money than we budgeted for the Economic Development Fund. That's because in coordination with the county and working on the Rock Creek Development Park, we have received some money from the county as their share of the purchase of the property that has been going on over the last couple of years. And so I'm asking that that economic development budget, be raised from $256,996 to $454,145, a little bit less than $200,000. We do have expenditures that we need to meet. That's why I'd like to utilize those funds to meet those expenditures. But again, the good thing is we have those funds available. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be there. But we've purchased the property. The county's reimbursed us for their share of that property, and we have expenditures that are related, engineering expenditures especially, that are related to the development as we continue to move forward on the development of Rock Creek Development Park. That we need to meet those obligations, and so I'm asking for those three budgets to be amended so that we can take care of those issues properly.
Any questions for Mr. Byrd?
Mr. Byrd, I see that we have some students present in the gallery today, and for their benefit and for those that may be listening, the library has a specific mill levy that is set for the budget year, and if it collects more than that, I mean, they're still entitled. If that mill levy collects more than what it was budgeted, they're entitled to that funds.
That is correct.
Okay, so
it's the library's money,
right,
and we
are the conduit. We collect the money from the county treasurer, and then we funnel it back to the library.
That is correct. Generally, when I receive a check from the county, we sit down and we spread those funds appropriately across the city funds, which includes the library. And we cut a check the very next possible time we cut a check, we get those monies to the library for their use.
Sure.
And you are absolutely correct. Those funds belong to the library, and that's the intent here.
Okay. And then the special alcohol fund, we were banking that money for several years, and correct.
Correct. It helps with the DARE program. I really didn't need the money in the general fund the last couple of years, and that's why I sat on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Byrd, I do have a question on the economic development side now. That $200,000 increase is not so much over budget, but just a timing of the budget would be a better way to put it?
That's probably a better way to put it. We didn't anticipate some of what has gone on over the last year and a half. We were able to purchase most of the property. We just purchased the last piece of that property in that development area, and so we do have some obligations. As I indicated, we have some engineering costs that are going on, and this will allow me to meet those obligations.
Mr. Byrd, when you indicated that we didn't necessarily plan or count on when was this budget written?
This budget was
or drafted and put together?
Was being drafted a year and a half ago.
Exactly.
Adopted late August of 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
So many things have happened since then. It's not that
Yes.
good things have happened, but many things have happened.
Many things, yeah, but a lot of good things for
yeah.
this community. But yes, we kind of we jokingly refer to it as a crystal ball. It's a little bit hard to know everything that's going on, and that's why the state provides for this opportunity, that we can do a budget amendment before the end of the year. Most funds, we have enough contingency reserve, and we budget those reserves, and that allows us to not have to do this with most of our funds. But we have about 21 budgeted funds, and sometimes we have this issue come up. And like I said, it's perfectly legitimate. The state allows for that, and largely, just as you indicated, it's because we're looking so far ahead in the future.
Other questions for Mr. Byrd? I think I'm going to open it up to the public and ask them if they should have any questions.
Very good. Thank you.
As this is a public hearing, we'll open it up to the public, and if anyone has questions, we certainly would entertain those at this time. Any questions for the 2016 budget amendments? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Moves us on to item 15 on the agenda.
Acceptance of 2016 budget amendments.
Acceptance of budget amendments to the library, special alcohol fund, and economic development fund. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve this amendment?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner.
I would move to accept these budget amendments for the library, special alcohol, and economic development funds.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the 2016 budget amendments. Any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
Okay, how do you vote? Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes, thank you. Next, that moves us on to item 16 on the agenda.
Approval of funding agreement between City of Ottawa and Ottawa Main Street Association.
Under comments, this is the agreement outlining terms for funding for 2017 for Ottawa Main Street Association. Will there be somebody that will be addressing this tonight, or?
I will.
Okay. City
So-
Manager Neinstead.
What this does, Commissioners, is, as we've talked about the last couple of study sessions, and the Ottawa Main Street Board has had input into this, and we made a couple of changes to clarify some issues. But basically, we're going to start putting the groups we allocate money to, we're going to have some sort of agreement with them, funding agreement. We just think that that's a good way to help monitor tax dollars that you're giving out to organizations. And what this does is lay out what their responsibilities are, some expectations that you have for the organization, and then what our responsibilities are to them also. And this will cover the fiscal year, which is also the calendar year, 2017. So once you approve this, we'll get this out for signatures from the representatives of the Ottawa Main Street Association and also the mayor on behalf of the city.
Commissioners, are there any questions for City Manager Neinstead? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move to approve the funding agreement between Ottawa Main Street and the City of Ottawa, as described.
It's been moved to approve the funding agreement between the City of Ottawa and Ottawa Main Street Association. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion among commissioners?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I think Ottawa's had a relationship with the Main Street Association for at least the last 15 years or thereabouts. And I think formalizing the arrangement is a great idea, so that there wouldn't be any misunderstandings moving forward.
I would echo what Commissioner Jorgensen just said. I think it's an effort to be transparent with how we spend taxpayer dollars. And because taxpayer dollars are used to help support Ottawa Main Street through the City of Ottawa and any other entity, I think it is important to have an agreement with them to completely spell out what is expected of any entity. So I think it's just good practice to do so. And I will be voting yes. So anybody else have comments? We will proceed to vote.
Okay, how do you vote? Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. Next to item 17 on the agenda.
Request for approval of ordinance for conditional use permit at 515 and 517 North Birch.
This permit allows for 2 duplex condominiums on 2 tracts on these properties in an R1 low-density residential district. I believe Mrs. Lee will be addressing this matter for the commission this evening.
Good evening, commissioners. Yes, the applicant in this case is the Marion C. and Peggy F. Cohen Trust. The person who articulated the application for us is John Cohen. The property is, to its east is some existing, what we'd really kind of locally call townhouses that are across from the country club. To the south is Neosho Community College, and then to its includes north and west is single-family, low-density residential housing. In our low-density residential zoning category, we allow for attached dwellings or duplexes as long as the overall density of the neighborhood isn't affected in a really negative way. So we even allow for a threeplex, I believe, so that you wouldn't end up with a neighborhood sort of all of a sudden have so much of a change that there's not enough room for parking, there's not enough yard space, you've changed the character of the neighborhood essentially. And in this case, the land abuts K68. So in some cases, that's not a particularly marketable piece for a real low density, a single family unit structure because of all the traffic that travels along there. With Neosho County Community College, it actually lends itself to some increased density as well. But as it turns out, in this particular application, because of the frontage that they have, 100, or I'm not going to be able to tell you my number, when you take out the 4 units that would be constructed, they would actually be constructed on the same amount of frontage as if they were individual units. So the increase in density really isn't there. However, because they're attached, nonetheless, they need to come through this process. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. There were a few folks that came and asked some questions about the current conditions of the property. Currently, there are 2 structures on the property. In order to build these, and our understanding is they're going to do it in phases, 1 structure would come down immediately, and the first pair of units would be constructed, and then upon their sale, then it's our understanding they would build an additional pair of units. Because these are condominium or townhome development types, the garages are joined in the middle with what we call a party wall, which means that you can actually essentially sell each half as a single-family dwelling unit. That's not quite the same thing as a true duplex. Those are typically just rental structure. Doesn't mean an owner can't live in one, but they are not separate units in the sense that they can be titled and insured and everything else separately. There's a long set of findings in your packet, and the overall conclusion was that it was not increasing the density, that it was an appropriate use and location given the adjacent uses, and that the Planning Commission recommends it to you for approval. There were really no conditions on this one. There sometimes are conditions that we ask for, but in this case there weren't any conditions. This would run indefinitely unless the uses are never actually materially constructed or something changes about the application. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions for Mrs. Lee? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor, I will make the motion that we approve item number 17.
It's been moved that we approve the item to approve a conditional use permit for 515 and 517 North Birch. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the conditional use permit for 515 and 517 North Birch. Is there any discussion among commissioners? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
I abstain.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. All right, that moves us on to the next item on the agenda, which is report by our city manager.
So, Commissioners, you'll notice that City Attorney Finch is not here today. That's because his mother had hip surgery this morning, so up in the city, so that's where he's at, and she's doing well. I think she's back to giving him orders, so there we are. So the zoning issue, we've been talking with the county about. Staff had a good meeting. You'll be getting more information about that in more detail. We not only talked about that particular issue, but got back around to how can we work together to jointly protect what we feel are the important gateways to the city. And I think we made some headway on that, and you'll be receiving more information on that. We actually got into a discussion about a document for replacing the UGA, which expired. So we jointly took a look at a map again, and because of their transition, some things just got lost in the shuffle, but I think we're back on board with that. And I would, as the mayor said in her opening remarks, this is the 75th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the important thing about that is that it plunged us into Second World War, and that most of those veterans now, there are very few Pearl Harbor veterans left. There are very few World War II veterans left. Chief Facility Supervisor Clancy Moore told me this morning that his Uncle Fred was at Pearl Harbor and actually survived that. And the devastation was great, but what this nation did was mobilize, and the men and women that went off to war and served in many different roles supporting this nation and supporting its military people overseas is the reason why we're able to be the way we are as Americans today. And I hope that we all remember that. And I hope that we say thank you to not only our veterans that served in that conflict, but every other conflict in peacetime that protect this country every day and every night so that we can be free Americans.
Thank you. Next on to reports by city commissioners. Commissioner Jorgensen.
No report.
Commissioner Reed.
I don't think I have anything either.
Commissioner Skidmore.
I've got something, Mrs. Campbell, it's good to see you, your students here to witness a little bit of what's going on in city government. I guess it's getting close to bedtime, the reason I had to leave early, so, but that's okay. But I took that class in 1974, a long time ago, but let me just tell your students this, that to your A and B students, tell them congratulations. But tell those C students that they too could become a city commissioner. Okay.
Commissioner, did C stand for constitutional scholar?
Probably. But C minus meant something different, but that's where we'll leave it at that. And Richard, I do appreciate your comments too about what this day means. My father, he was in the Air Force, and fortunately the war ended by the time he was activated, and he was probably heading to the Pacific, so we're thankful it ended by the time he got in there. My father-in-law, he was a POW in World War II in Germany. And during that time, they both had some animosity toward those various countries. My dad was very adamant about me or my brothers or his grandkids buying a Japanese vehicle. That was just a taboo. Don't do that. And here it turns out my son bought a Japanese car, and my daughter married a man from Germany. So it just shows you how things go on. We don't forget, but things do move on, and we make the best of it. So, but I appreciate your comments, Richard. Just much like 9/11, the more current era, December 7th, critically, is a very important date that we all want to remember that. So your comments were well said.
Commissioner Graves.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. On to report by the mayor. I have two things that, and the first thing, I honestly don't think that she'll probably ever hear this, but I kind of hope in a weird way that she gets this message. Today is actually my goddaughter's birthday, and she is a senior at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and not very often, I don't know that we've ever had a city commission meeting on her birthday, so I certainly do want to say happy birthday to Miss Alexis. She's been wonderful, and we expect big things out of her when she graduates from UNL actually this month. So big things from Alexis, and happy birthday. And then I also would ask anybody who's listening to this to please pray for the Hayden family. As you may know, Cole Hayden is a student at Sacred Heart School. My children go to school there, and Cole is unfortunately battling cancer and is, it doesn't look happy for his ending. And at least his ending here on earth. And so I would ask that if you are a person who prays, that you pray for that family and pray for strength for Cole and for his entire family now and for whatever comes in the future. So saying that, I will move on to to our announcements. We do have our City Employee Appreciation Breakfast, which is something that we certainly like to do at the holidays for all of our employees tomorrow from 7 to 9 a.m. at OMA. And then on the 12th of December, we have our study session at 4 p.m. The public is certainly invited to that. And if you cannot make it in person, you could certainly go on Facebook and watch the live stream of our study session. Then on the 14th of December, we have a special call meeting with the city and county. It's a joint meeting with our Rock Creek Business Development Park with the engineers at 11:30 here at City Hall. And then we have a study session on the 19th of December here at City Hall at 4 p.m. Is there anything else that needs to come before the commission this evening? If not, I will entertain a motion, if there is one, to adjourn. Or not.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move we adjourn.
is there a second?
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.